Okay, so now we've given Freya's body a good clip here. We're just going to do a bit of scissor work on the legs. Before we start, you might want to just take clippers into the bottoms of the feet. If you're not very confident with straight scissors, if you haven't used them much, it might be a bit scary to use around the bottoms of the feet, so you might want to put a slightly shorter blade. I used a 5 on her back, I'm now using a 2 on her feet, so just take that down a little bit from what you've used on the back. Pick the foot up and just very gently only put it in to one side and into the other. Very careful with the pads, you don't want to be cutting the pads. And just take the excess of the hair away. It doesn't need to be perfect, it's not really going to show the foot down, it's just to stop things from getting too wet and matted underneath. Again, just take it in a little bit to one side of the pad and into the other. That way and then that way. Again, don't go in too deep because you can cut them if you go in too deep. So you just want to take a little bit of the hair off the surface without pushing your clippers in too deep into the feet. Just means that you've taken a little bit of scissor work away, and you're less likely to cut them with the clippers than you are with the scissors. Okay, so we'll start with a bit of scissor work. So on Freya, I think we'll start with her head actually while we're in the camera. So if you want to turn around, sweetheart, sit down. Oh, sit down. A little rest. Do you want to sit down? A little rest? Yes. Oh, you do? Okay. Good girl. Yes, you. You can see, if you haven't watched the previous video and you've just come into this section, normally I'd take all of the hair off the top of the Cocker Spaniel head. With Freya, she had a little lump taken off the top of her head and she's got a bit of scar tissue here. So instead of taking it right off, which would leave a bit of a bald spot, I've just left a little tuft on the top just so it covers her little bald spot. So if you wonder why she's a little bit spiky on the top, that's why. I would normally just take that all off. Again, some people like that quite a little tufty on the top anyway, they just think it's part of the character, so that's purely up to you. If it's your dog, you decide. So with the ears, again, some people shave all the ears off. I don't really like it myself. I like to see a little bit of feathering. Freya's are very short. They have been trimmed round short previously. So there isn't a lot of length. Again, you can have them as long as you want. Hers are quite short for, she does a lot of swimming and running around, so they need to be quite short and easy for her owner to keep, but just enough to make them look pretty. So I'm going to comb them round, make sure all the tangles are out. Keep your fingers behind the ears. Always have a good feel where the skin ends and where the hair starts. You don't want to be going around and snipping the end of the dog's ear. So I'm just going to literally, hold up my darling, just lift the ear, and just snip around the ends again. Keep your finger, third finger and thumb, between where the skin finishes and the hair starts, always, so that if anything, you're going to catch yourself before you catch the dog. Okay? Don't want to be chopping the end of their ear off. You can turn their ear over. Be very careful of the double ear flap in here. Again, have a good feel with your fingers. Make sure you know where everything is on your dog. And just pull that hair away from the inside of the ear and just clean as much as you dare. Oops, become sweetie. As much as you dare to keep that ear clean and stop some of the hair from blocking the air getting into the ear. If you're a bit nervous with the scissors, then obviously don't go too close, but just do what you can. Around the back of the ear. So as you can see, Freya's ears are quite short. She doesn't have a huge amount of length there. But I'm literally just nipping around the edges just to make them look tidy, without actually shaving the whole lot off. So she's still got a little bit of prettiness in there, but it's still nice and easy for her to be towel dried every day and brushed out. Stops them getting so knotty in all their dinner. So I would normally leave them a little bit longer than this, but they were quite short to begin with, so just literally tidying them around so we haven't any long ends flying out. Like so. There's one. Okay, I think I'll do the other one off camera because it's going to be, I'm going to be blocking the camera. So the same with the other side. And then come to her front leg. So I'm going to pick up the paw and check the hair around the back of the paw. And I'll be very careful. There's a little pad. I should get this in the camera. It's a little pad just at the back of the foot here, the very back, next to this dew claw if they've got one at the side. Okay, be very careful when trimming around there. If you go straight in like this, you're likely to cut this pad. Keep your fingers at the back of this pad the whole time, like this. Keep a finger there so that you know where it is at the whole time. And you're going to feel the scissors touching your skin before it touches the dog's. Be very careful around there. It's going to lift her foot up and I'm just going to trim. Again, hers look already quite short, so I'm just going to trim around the tops of the foot and just around the edges of the nails, just so to neaten them up a little bit. Hello, hello, who's Kiki? Who's Kiki? It's me. Who's Kiki? It's me. Who's Kiki? She's a good girl. She's a good girl. Good girl. Try and keep the loose hair off your table and you can see what's attached to the dog and what isn't. And again, Freya's featherings are quite short from previously. Quite short from her previous cut, so there isn't a lot to trim. But I would like to leave a little bit of feathering just at the back here. I don't like to see it all taken off, personally. They're quite short up on the inside, so it's not really going to show. Be very careful down the side and the inside of the foot. You've got the dew claw and that little pad at the back there. So again, keep your hand at all times around the back. Feel everything you're cutting. Okay. So she's just got a little bit of feathering going on at the back of the leg here. Just stops them looking like they've got little chicken drumsticks for legs, really. Up you come, honey. And the skirt, just going to give the skirt a little comb. Make sure, lift the leg and make sure you've got all the knots and tangles out from under that front leg. And then, depending on what length you want, just even up the skirt a little bit. Freya does have a bit of a skirt. I'm just trying to even that up a bit. We need to do this from both sides. So when you turn the dog round, do it from the other side so that you've got an even trim right way through. Can't do this very well without getting in the camera, so I'm just going to have a rough trim. I'll check it afterwards. I'm just trying to get that even without getting in front of the camera too much. Okay, I'm going to check that in a minute when I come off camera because I can't quite get underneath. But just roughly tidying up the skirt. Again, it can be as long or as short as you like. If you're working on a male, be careful, obviously you've got male parts under here, so again you need to keep your hand underneath. Again, don't be frightened to get your hand and feel where everything is. You need to do that, that is important. The dog won't be embarrassed, and it's far more important than cutting the dog. So keep your hand underneath, keep a feel of where everything is when you're cutting. Again, with females, if you have a female who's perhaps had puppies or quite an older female, they can be a little bit saggy underneath, under here. So again, you need to make sure, Freya's quite young, she's not had puppies, but you need to make sure there's nothing hanging under there that you're going to nip with your scissors. Okay, and then the females, obviously they're around the back, between the back legs, you've got to be careful. The males, it's under here. Okay, so just coming along to the back end, just going to move the camera around a little bit more. Okay, so again, lift up that back foot and just check whatever you didn't get with your clippers, just neaten that round. Okay, it doesn't need to be perfect underneath, it's not really going to show, it's just to make sure that it's tidy and it's not mats in there and cause a problem. So, a bit sweaty. Oh, it's a good girl. And just scissor it down, tidy at the back here. I want you to lift that leg up so you can really see what you're doing. Okay. Up on the inside, I'm a little bit shorter because it's not really going to show on the inside. It's tidy. Okay, be very careful as you come down the leg. Again, you're not catching this little pad at the bottom, back of the leg. I'm just going to tidy around the toes. Doesn't have to be really short. Can't quite get around the front there because of the camera, so I'm just going to do a little bit. Normally I'd have a little bit more feathering here on the leg. I'd usually leave a little bit of feathering here. Hers was taken down quite short last time, so there's not much for me to play with. So I'm just going to leave a bit around the back here. Again, Freya's a girl, so around the back you have all the little girl bits. So just be very careful. Again, use your hand, feel underneath with your opposite hand that you're not cutting with. I'm right-handed, so with my left hand. Keeping your hand around the back. Far better to do that than to cut the dog. They won't thank you for that. Okay, so hers is quite short already. Again, you can have this as long or as short as you feel you can cope with your own dog. Depends how well you get on with grooming, how much they like to run through mud and water, how often you like to bath them. Okay, so Freya's is quite short because she's well exercised. She lives with her mum, so she runs around with her mum chasing squirrels and jumping in the river every day, so she has quite a short trim. But we do leave just a little bit of feathering at the back and underneath and at the back of that front leg, just enough to make it look pretty. With the tail, so you want to lift the tail right up, again, have a feel round, make sure you've seen where everything is, and just trim the hair quite short from around the bottom, not too short, too close obviously, but just the long hair from there. As you can see, it's not bothering her, it's not hurting her in the slightest, it's just going to keep that nice and clean. With the tail, I normally hold the tail out like a little fan and comb it down both sides. Again, you're going to have to even this up when you get to the other side, so we'll just do one side, comb it down. Again, depends on length, whatever you want for your own dog. Just around a tiny bit. With Freya, she does have a nice little fan, so I'm not going to take that too short. A couple of combs, make sure you've got any loose ends flying out. A little shape perhaps. That's really all you need to do to the tail, depending on how short you want it. You see it's got quite a nice little fan to it, so it's still quite pretty. Okay, yeah, just making sure all the ends are tidied around her toes. And then I'm just going to, off camera, just going to go into here and make sure the skirt's nice and even. A few little long ends at the front here, the back here. So that's pretty much her whole side trimmed, so we would just turn around, going around the other side, tidying the back feet, trimming the skirt, evening up the tail from the other side. It should be mostly done, you might have a few ends, the other ear, and then last of all, or do this first, whichever suits you, just stand her up, and yeah, just see a few loose ends on this back leg, which I'll tidy up after. So just where you've clipped all the way down to the chest bone, you've then left this little tuft here of skirt to blend in, unless you've shaved all the way underneath, which you might want to. I've left a little skirt, so I'm just going to get the scissors and again just very carefully just tidy that. Stand up, sweetie. Just go through it underneath the legs and try not to get too much in the camera, and just blend that in a little bit. You'll be able to see if you've left any long ends on the front leg as well, which I can't quite get in to do. You can blend those from the front as well. to make sure those are really neat. Like that. Well done.
Clever girl.